Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming this morning. We're so glad to have you here. Welcome. Excited to see everyone logging in on this beautiful Thursday. That's like a Friday today. It's Friday Junior, but also kind of like a Friday today. Hope everyone's having a wonderful morning so far. Having a great day. We'll let everyone kind of roll in here before we get started, but so happy to see everyone showing up this morning. Hope everyone has had plenty of coffee today. I know for me, my favorite is coconut syrup with a little half and half in my coffee, and I'm an espresso person. I love it. So hope everyone else is enjoying their favorite type of thing. Maybe some fall vibes for your coffee today. Okay, well, it seems like we have a majority of the people here. Before we get started here, I wanted to just introduce and say that Victor Fernandez is joining me today, my wonderful colleague. He will be in the background with the Q&A, answering some questions and helping me. So thank you so much, Victor. Appreciate you.
Hi, everyone. Okay, I'm turning off camera.
All right. See you later. So before we get started too, just speaking of the Q&A, we don't have the chat on, but please do ask any questions that you have in the Q&A throughout the presentation. We'll also have some time afterwards to go through those questions and be able to address any questions or concerns that you have. Hopefully throughout this presentation, there's more information available to you. As we talked about a little bit yesterday in our first presentation, we did send out 2 emails with clarification. And so I know many of you are involved in working on the interim right now and looking at these different edits. And so thank you so much for your work and also for identifying any questions or issues that you're finding, because that is very helpful feedback for us. So I'll go ahead and share my screen here so we can get started. So hi again, I am Carly Curley. I'm the Assistant Director of Need-Based Programs. My pronouns are she, her. I have copper and brown hair with some dark lipstick today, wearing a cream sweater, and have a lovely Olympia fall background with the WASAC logo behind me. I am the one who gets to address a lot, or is fortunate to address a lot of the questions that come through the Washington College Grant email. And we'll talk more about, connecting with us through that email. But it's always wonderful to see different names. And in the rare opportunity I actually get to see faces, it's always wonderful to meet and connect with you all. So some of you might be wondering why the shift or transition from the cruncher. What's going on? Why did there have to be a new system built for college bound? Could the cruncher just be updated? And the answer, well, the first part of that answer is going to be new legislation was created. So in 2023, we had the House Bill 1232 pertaining to the college bound scholarship. And so what this House bill did is it allowed for first-time enrollees first-time enrollees, I should say, actually, for the 2023-24 academic year, students that did not achieve a 2.0 GPA in high school were allowed to receive college-bound scholarship at a 2-year institution or as a transfer student. So another way to put that is that a 2.0 GPA is only required for CBS students if they're a direct admit to a 4-year public or private institution. So that's a huge change in legislation and very specific to different types of school and different types of students. And so we had to take this information and figure out how we were going to communicate to schools eligibility for these specific situations. So one other thing to be aware of is that the 2.0 GPA requirement eliminated for attendance at other types of institutions. And so what this means is that at a 2-year schools, students, it doesn't matter what the student's high school GPA is, and we've built the checker accordingly for this. And also for transfer students at a 4-year school. So you're going to see some new information in the checker and new information in Seesaw when you're looking at the student detail record. But if you're looking for the why behind this new type of system to use, here is the why behind that. So accessing the checker, so the way that you're going to go to the checker is to go to Programs, college bound, and then the CBS eligibility checker when you're logged into the portal. Many of you, I'm sure, are very familiar with this. You can still see here that the CBS eligibility checker and cruncher are in there. And as we kind of communicated through our email, we will be getting rid of the cruncher after all schools have been able to implement the change in file structure to their systems. So don't worry, we're not going to delete it tomorrow. We are taking some time to make sure that institutions are ready to use the checker, but we do recommend using the checker now moving forward. So I like to call the checker the choose your own adventure option. For those of you that were in the 80s and 90s, you know these books. They were so fun. I loved them. But very similar to the cruncher, you're going to see the same types of options for uploading your students to the checker. First thing I want to point out is at the very top, you can see a sample of the CSV headers needed for your system to be able to upload the student file. And there's different types of search options. So you can search by name if you're just looking for an individual student and you're kind of curious what their CBS eligibility is, you can look them up. You can search by SSNs or SIDs, or you can search by a file upload. And so very similar to what you've experienced with the cruncher thus far. This does still include the watch list option. And so when you are searching for students, if you do your whole student list via SSNs or SIDs or through a file upload, you can check the box indicated here to include all students in your watch list, or you can put them individually in if that's something you like to do. Whatever way you want to include your students in the watch list, completely great. And just make sure that you check that box, and they will be included. And if you're unfamiliar with the watch list identifies changes to CBS eligibility for your students. It will email you if there's any changes. So this might be something that's really helpful as you're monitoring eligibility throughout the year for your students. So what does it look like when you put your students into the CBS eligibility checker? A couple things to note is that you see the names in blue here, but they're actually going to be in black for your experience. They are in alphabetical order, so really helpful there. You know, automatically you're going to see them in alphabetical order. This entire list of your students can be downloaded by clicking on the download button, download CSV button, and this will be helpful for you as you move through the process of identifying eligibility. You can sort any of the columns that are here. So this is really helpful if you're looking for, say all your students that are okay to award, or students that need to be verified for their high school grad year, whatever the case may be. You can see using those different arrows by each column header that you can do a search however you need to. So lots of options there in terms of like the student populations you're looking for or whatever you're looking to resolve for a given amount of students. So moving forward, we're going to talk a little bit about how to interpret the results of the checker. So what do these things actually mean? So one of the newest and probably most significant changes to the checker versus the cruncher is this new status of 2-year/transfer. And so one thing to note about the okay to award and okay to pay fields, these are areas where you can trust that if it says okay to award, you can award the funds. If it says okay to pay, you can pay the funds. So now it's a matter of what do these certain statuses mean when you're looking at these fields. So we are used to the yes and no. Yes, they can be awarded. Yes, they can be paid. And now you will see something called 2-year/transfer. And that means a student meets requirements at a 2-year institution or as a transfer student only. And so this will be, like I said, something new and something to expect when a student didn't achieve a 2.0 GPA in high school. Likewise, an okay to pay, you will see the 2-year transfer requirement, which means the same thing. And something new in the okay to pay field is verify. And so usually why this pulls up for a given student is because their graduation year hasn't yet been confirmed or their enrollment deadline hasn't been confirmed. So something about their other requirements have not been confirmed, and it's something that you need to do in order for the CBS funds to be okay to pay. So that's kind of the thing to think about when you see verify. Now, there's going to be one circumstance where this is not the case. So definitely, feel free, and I will talk through when the verify, there's nothing you need to do in that case. But in most cases, when you see verify, there's something that you need to do for that student to make sure that their funds can pay. So here's a little bit more about what that looks like. So this is what you would expect to see for a student. You can see that they have 2-year transfer in their okay to award, okay to pay. They have an actual grad year from OSPI. And the only no that you see is a high school 2.0 GPA. So all of the requirements are great. They're not in repayment. They've been enrolled by the deadline. Their 5-year eligibility is still open. It's just that they can't receive the award if they're a direct admit to a 4-year school. So this is what you would kind of expect to see if both okay to pay and okay to award are at 2-year/transfer. And so, yes, they can be awarded, they can be paid for these students. High school grad year, this is kind of a bigger changes in terms of how we've identified students and what unknown is versus the new field of verify status. So unknown now means the high school grad year has been overridden to not graduated. And we'll talk a little bit more about overrides here in a little bit and talk about what that actually, when you would actually use that status. But for verify, it actually means a lot of things. And so one way to look at it is we don't have OSPI data for the student. So we don't have a confirmed graduation date from OSPI. And so what verify can mean is that we don't have the information. The student has graduated from a non-Washington State high school, was homeschooled. We have information that the student exited school prior to graduation. The graduation date is estimated. The student graduated from a non-GPA based school, or the student obtained a GED. So it's a lot of either or. So it's going to be up to institutions to verify the information for students in this category. Here's kind of what this looks like in the checker. So if you can sort, of course, like I said, like sort the status, you can see which students of yours fall into the verify category. And there's a couple different things going on here. You see some students that have the estimated unknown. So there's no really data from OSPI. And so we'll have to look at an official high school transcript to see what the student status is. So that's something to be aware of, is having access to an official high school's transcript to verify these students. Then you see at the very bottom there, a student that has estimated 2025. So this is a future date. And so in order for the student to be eligible, you have to verify that they graduated, before the 8-year or before their first term. So that there's a couple different things you might see here. Now, depending on the verify status, you might see different things in okay to award it and okay to pay. So when it's unknown in verify, you'll see no in okay to award and okay to pay. But if there's an estimated graduation date, and this is something you're probably familiar with when you were working with the cruncher, is if there's an estimated grad date, they're okay to award, but they have to be verified in order to be okay to pay. So these are kind of some good different things going on with different students and how they respond in the checker, depending on what information we have available. Now, talking about the new column, high school 2.0 GPA. So there's 3 different statuses that could happen here. Yes, the student achieved the 2.0. No, they did not. And verify WASAC doesn't have GPA information. So this is critical for 4-year schools for direct admits, that their students are in the yes category. And also the verify is important for awards to be okay to pay. So if you see verify here, again, this is an area where you're going to need to check the official high school transcript and verify the GPA information. And again, we'll talk about how to do that and what the overrides look like now. Enrolled by deadline. So there's a new status. It used to be NA, and now it says, or is called verify. So this is looking at whether a student enrolled within 1 year of high school graduation per the CBS rules and regulations. So something to be aware of. So it's yes or no or verify. So this is the category where I said it's verify, but that doesn't mean that you need to necessarily do something with the verify. It just means that 1 year has not passed since graduation. And so we'll look on the next slide to see kind of how that plays out in the checker. So here you can see it says verify, but everything else is at yes. They can receive the award. It's okay to pay. We have their grad year. It just says verify. And the reason why it sits there is because that student does have that within 1 year to enroll after high school before they're ineligible for CBS. Save this stat at verify, and then we moved into that final quarter, to see if they had enrolled in time. It would move to no if they did not enroll in time. This can be overridden though. So if for some reason it just wasn't captured somehow that the student had enrolled in time, this can be an override for students. So again, official high school transcript, really helpful in these cases to be able to verify students in this situation. Actually, let me go back to this. Not an official high school transcript, more for this particular one. If they've enrolled in your school, you can verify that, or a transcript from another school that they transferred from would be another way to be able to verify this information.
Carly,
Okay. Yeah.
sorry to interrupt. I'm not sure if you saw Ashley's question in the question and answers.
No, please. Yeah, let me know.
Okay. So Ashley was asking, she says, good morning. Questions for the verify status. For community colleges who are open access and high school transcripts are not a requirement for admission standards. It is still required. Is it still required we obtain transcript documents to continue to review them for CBS? Can you confirm what is on their FAFSA as documentation for high school completion is not valid to use to be able to award CBS at the CTC sector?
That was a great question, and I'm glad you're here, Gabi.
Yeah, so thank you for that question, Ashley.
Yeah.
In order to verify the CBS, we do require a transcript from the student. If you don't have that transcript, you can have the student send it over to our CBS office and they'll verify it. However, the FAFSA would not be sufficient documentation for verifying their high school enrollment.
Thank you so much, Gabi. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Yeah, and Ashley, thank you. Keep the questions coming. We appreciate you asking that and thinking through how that could work for a CTC level, how to get those from students, and what a great way to do that would be for CBS student cases. And one thing I want to mention too is that if you may have some uneasiness with how many people are going to be in this verify status. And in my experience so far looking in the checker, this is not a majority of students sitting at this status. So we've listed a bunch of different situations where they might be in that status. But we're hopeful that this is hopefully not, the majority of the students. The majority of the students have, an actual grad date from OSPI. They graduated from Washington State High School, no problem, goes into the checker. But definitely appreciate the thought behind what to do in this situation for these students. So we're going to move to overrides. So you may be wondering, how do we do overrides now? Because before, what you would do is you would click on, the yes or no, and then just do a little override there. This looks a little bit different in the CBS eligibility checker. Right below the student's name, you're going to see this details link with a little, I don't know, paper icon by it. And you're going to click on that to access the override screen. Let's see. So the override screen is going to look like this. You're going to see the students, all their information that's in the checker. So, all of their personal information, as well as their status in various different categories. You will see also their QERs, whether they're in repayment, all of those good things. To the right of the student's information, you're going to see the override box, and we'll talk a little bit about what can get overridden in that box. And one thing just to note is that as you're submitting an override, you will need to put something in the reason. And that kind of brings me to what you'll see below when something's overridden. So you'll see an override history. So you can see here, for this student, I said, oh, they were enrolled in our institution. So I made enrolled deadline met to yes. You can see who did it, the institution name, and the date that that was done. So in case you have any questions, you ever need to connect with another colleague, because you maybe have conflicting information, you know who to connect with there. So this is a really cool feature, I think, of the override screen, provides you just a little bit more information. So speaking of what can be overridden, so these are the 4 categories that can be overridden: the high school grad year, GPA, enrollment deadline met, and then kind of a new feature, previously enrolled in a 2-year college. And I'll talk through each of these here so that you kind of know when and what to override and what situations. So first, the high school grad year. So it can be overridden to an academic year or to not graduated. And so reasons why you would do this is you would override to an academic year if there's an official high school transcript on file for students that graduated from a Washington State public or private high school. So for some reason, there's no OSPI data and you want to override that so they can make sure to receive their college bound. That's absolutely something you can do here. You want to override it to not graduated if the student received a GED and isn't or wasn't a foster youth. And so we have kind of a little important note here. You can see an example of what the override would look like, you know, if you're overriding it for an academic year. You can put the reason in. Here's a good example of what to do there. But our college bound friends have kind of specified that there's certain situations that they want to hear from you for students, and to be able to assist you. So those would be for homeschooled students, students who are foster youth with a GED, students graduating from a non-GPA based school, students graduating from a non-Washington State high school. And so you would connect with them at the college bound email and they'd be able to provide you further assistance for this school. There are these students and kind of tell you the next steps and what to do for them. Next, we have the high school 2.0 GPA override. So the GPA can be overridden to a specific grade point value. And you would want to use this override if you have an updated high school transcript that is received that would change the student's eligibility for CBS. And so I think this is more particular to 4-year schools with direct admits, where it would make a difference for their CBS eligibility having a 2.0 or higher. You can feel free to update it if you do, you know, if you're doing a high school grad year override and you have the GPA or you need the GPA, that's a reason to do it as well. But in terms of where this would be significant would be for our 4-year schools, to make sure that the student is actually eligible for CBS if they did have a change with their final transcript. Again, just a reminder, don't update the GPA, please, for homeschooled students, students who are foster youth with a GED, those graduating from a non-GPA based school, or those graduating from a non-Washington State high school. So just connect with our college bound folks for students in that case. Enrollment deadline met. So this is when we talked about a little bit. It can be overridden to yes or no. So you want to override that field when the student is currently attending your institution within 1 year of graduation from high school, or there's documentation that the student enrolled within 1 year of high school graduation. So elsewhere. So maybe you have, like I mentioned, a transcript from another school, you know, they enrolled by the deadline, but currently it's at no, or you know, you're not sure it's at verify, you can go ahead and update that to yes. Or if they didn't, you can update it to no. And all of these different things that happen in the checker are going to have effects to the edits that you receive on your interim report. So I know many of you are right there in the middle of interim with me and working through those edits. And so some of the things that the data that you're updating in the checker is also going to make it easier as far as edits if it is, you know, corrected for a student. And I will have a couple examples of those shortly. So just so you know, we'll talk a little bit about edits here today. So this is kind of a very unique one. This is unique because we wanted to find a way to indicate students that had previously enrolled in a 2-year college, or any college for that matter, that were really technically transfer students, but for some reason there's no record in Seesaw or a way for us to identify that they might qualify as through transfer status. And so this would be the way for four-year schools to update, yeah, the student actually transferred to our school. You would say yes, and then that would actually give them the status in OK award, OK to pay of 2-year transfer. So this is really kind of particular to a four-year institution that's trying to make determinations of transfer status. But this is available and something you can do in the override screen. Okay, is there, maybe I'll pause here. Is there any other questions, I think, relating to those? No, I don't think so. Victor, we're all good?
Yeah, we're good. We had a question come through, but we would need to take that back to the team.
Okay.
And so we can talk about that a little bit later.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to have a couple examples here just because I think these are really relevant examples to what a lot of schools are experiencing. And I thought it would be helpful to kind of walk through this particular or a couple of different edits and how to resolve them. So what we're looking at here is a student that has a CBS is not okay to pay. And just as a reminder, we made this overridable, and I'll talk about why that's overridable. But this student is the reason why they're receiving this is because they're awarded bridge grant currently, but they have verifying the high school grad year and likely eligible for CBS in their student detail record. What this means is that the student is enrolled in the college bound program, but they just have a piece of their information that needs to be verified before they're eligible to get the funds paid to them. So you can see here in the chart by clicking on the little eye icon next to likely eligible for a CBS, you know, the chart's going to pop up here. It's going to give you kind of like a mini cruncher information and tell you what's going on with the student. So we see here for this student, they have everything met except for we don't know what their high school grad year is. And that's also why you see that it's okay to award. It's just not okay to pay until that information is verified. Now, students that have this verify in high school grad year are going to show up as likely eligible or 2-year/transfer likely eligible for CBS status. And so that's something kind of a little bit new. Likely eligible is not new, but 2-year transfer likely eligible is new. And kind of here's just something to think about when you see that in a student detail record. You're like, well, okay, what's going on with the student? And I thought I awarded them correctly, but now I see I have to award them college bound. So that's the first thing to think about when you see this. So how do you resolve this issue? So what you're going to want to do is click on the likely eligible for CBS link here, which is going to take you directly to that override screen. And what you need to do, and what's helpful too, is there's a little bit more information in the override screen or in the checker than you would see just in this little chart within the student detail. It's going to show you, oh, it's estimated that they graduated in 2020 from OSPI. And so what needs to happen is you just need to perform an override if they did graduate. If they didn't, you would indicate not graduated. That would also get rid of the edit because now they're not eligible for CBS. But likely they did graduate. We just need to have confirmation from their official transcript. So here's one really likely circumstance that I think some people have run into, hopefully helpful as far as like how that resolution occurs. Another fun one that's been happening is not eligible for bridge grant if CBS eligible. So in this student's case, they are awarded, you know, their Washington College grant, they've been awarded bridge and they're getting the not eligible for bridge grant if CBS eligible. So this will be a student that also has this likely eligible for CBS status because they have information that they need to verify. So for this student, it looks like there's a couple components that need to be verified in the override screen. So how do we resolve that? We're going to click on the 2-year/transfer students likely eligible link, go to the override screen, and then hopefully have the official transcript there, and you can override both the grad year and the 2.0 GPA sections with the official information. That will show that the student is eligible at the institution. And then of course, like depending on your answer to those overrides, if it is not graduated, then they would not be eligible. Well, for really any state programs at that point. But yeah, so verify, of course, indicates an action. And so this is why the not eligible for bridge grant, if CBS eligible, is popping up. It's popping up because the student is enrolled in the CBS program, is eligible, but just needs information verified. So therefore, they're not ever eligible for bridge in this case. So hopefully very helpful. It's about overriding and how that translates to the checker. And then that updates the edits that a student is receiving as well. So if the information can be, changed, that will update the edits that are needing to be resolved too. And I know too, for this fall term, there's always so much as you're first getting your students uploaded. So, thank you so much as you're walking through this process with us. Last thing I kind of wanted to point out that we're really excited about is that we have students that are running out of their QER eligibility, or they're nearing the end of their 5-year eligibility. So these students will have eligible for CBS through whatever term they're eligible for through. So that's the great news now. One thing that's really helpful for this particular example, I think, is that what you see here is the student is getting these 2 edits. Student does not have enough CBS QER for this award, and CBS student is not okay to pay. So you may be wondering, well, they don't really have an award for spring term. Why are they getting this? And the reason why is if you put $0 into the CBS award, the system reads it as an award. Even though it says need met, it still reads it as an award. And so it's going to give the person these 2 edits. And so something to think about is making sure that when you have $0 for students, that it's actually because their need is met and not because you wanted to just delete the award. So the fix in this case is just to delete the $0 when you click on the edit icon. And that will take care of both of these edits, and the student is appropriately awarded with the bridge once they've run out of their CBS eligibility. So this is just like a great example to show, 2 fixes that can happen, and as well as something that we've been able to put into the student detail that will hopefully be helpful as as student is ending their QER eligibility. If it was a 5-year eligibility student, you would expect to see, eligible for CBS through summer, since students are able to receive their last disbursement in summer 1. So we kind of wanted to just point that out, and if it was helpful for others, I hope so. Lastly, we just want to encourage you. We're here for you. If you have things that are not working for you or need some additional assistance, you need some help or care, in terms of edits or wanting to work with us, please let us know. You can always email us at the WCG email listed here. We want to work with you, and we'll definitely work to make sure that things are working. We're also available for one-on-one training with your staff. So if that is the case, we can actually look at your own students, walk through the checker with you. So just shoot us an email and we can schedule some time to go through that with you. We're happy to do so. And so that kind of brings us to the end of the formal presentation, but I'd love to go through some questions that you have. So please keep putting them into the Q&A as you have them, and we'll go ahead and start answering some of those.
All right. Yeah, we have a couple.
Thanks,
that came through. Back to the one that I mentioned that we got to take it back to the team. That question, which was a good question. Let me just read it out loud.
Sure.
Does a high school diploma showing grad date work? So that's something that we'll need to consult with our CBS team. So we'll get back. We'll get back with an answer on that one. So thank you for that question, Jade.
Yeah.
Okay, first one from Ashley Clark. So question for this edit: CBS is okay to award, but not okay to pay due to high school grad year. If we have to obtain a high school transcript and we still award WCG, we still get this edits. Do we have to override all edits for this that we are waiting on transcripts, as we do not require it for admissions? so that we can draw for WCG funds. We have seen this error occur even when we report WCG awards only and no CBS, making it so we're not able to draw WCG funds.
Okay, CBS is okay to award, not okay to pay.
Yeah, due
So
to
I
high
think,
school grad year.
yeah, that's a great question, Ashley. I'm going to take that down and do a little bit of testing for you. And I know that you have an email into WCG already. So let me go ahead and copy this and make sure that I answer your question. I don't know, Gabi or Victor, did Gabi have to go?
She did. I did send her. I messaged her the question, so
Okay.
she can get back to us. So if she does, I'll let you know.
Yeah. So we'll make sure to test this for you and Ashley so we can make sure it works.
Mhm.
I think there is a way to work around this, but I'm not right now without having it in front of me. I'm not sure that I can like answer that right now, but I will absolutely get back to you today on that. So thank you.
Yeah, we'll mess around with that because I gotta look at it too.
Yep. Victor and I will make sure that this is something that can be resolved for sure.
Yeah. Second question. If a student received CBS, if a student received CBS for the year but ran out of eligibility, do they need to be awarded bridge grant?
Excellent question. Yeah, so this is a great example here. In this, let me go back to here. So this is a great example of how that should be done. So this student, so I talked about the need met, that deleting the $0 award here. However, this is a great example of a student that ran out of their quarters of eligibility after fall term. And so the school awarded bridge the next term since they aren't technically CBS eligible. So the answer is yes. Once they run out of quarters of eligibility, they are eligible to receive bridge the following term after that.
Perfect. Thank you. What do we do if we reach out to the student for a high school transcript and don't hear back? We have already given them bridge, but now they have an edit saying they may be CBS eligible. Do we override?
Dave, that's a great question. And I think this is also just probably another just something to make us aware of the difficulty of receiving a high school transcript from some students. So the thing is that they are technically eligible until we know that they haven't graduated. So, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday, so I appreciate you bringing this up again today. What our guidance was for these students is that they are CBS eligible. So what you want to do is award them CBS and not bridge. And then attempt to try to collect that transcript, because yeah, so that's kind of the guidance that we're saying is make sure you award them the CBS, and it's okay to award. It's just that it can't be paid until the student, submits their transcript, because that's the correct type of fund that they're eligible for. It's just that you have to verify the high school graduation date. So I know there can be challenges in receiving those, but that is the guidance that we're kind of providing for schools.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we just don't want them just to jump and award bridge if they're CBS eligible. All right. Okay. Thank you for that question. Let's see. If they have already give them bridge, then we have to, what do we do?
Yeah, Jay, did you I'm kind of thinking, did you actually award the lump sum and then it wouldn't be a direct swap? That's kind of what I'm curious about. If you want to let us know. Because if so, please do connect with us. Reach out at WCG. If there's a situation where the student would have to repay because they received the lump sum of bridge versus the 167 that they would get in college bound, we would like to hear from you. So please do just reach out to us via email about that.
Response from Jay. No, we normally split it.
Oh, you do? Okay. So it would actually just be a direct swap for the student then. So in that case, yeah, just cancel the bridge and you would award the CBS. And so that would just be a direct one-for-one swap for the student. I hope that's helpful.
And if he needs more clarification, just reach out to us, as Carly stated. So back to the student, if they don't hear back. So if they don't hear back from the student on the transcript, what do we?
Yeah, that's a great question.
What's the next step? Yeah, that is a really good question.
It is an excellent question. And I think we need to probably talk about it at WASAC for next steps about that, because talking through this, it seems like this would be like a new kind of newish process for students in these verified categories or likely eligible categories. So let me take it back to the team and get back to you on that.
Yeah.
Any other questions that we can help with?
Nothing coming in yet.
All right. Well, we really appreciate everyone's feedback and wonderful questions. Thank you so much for taking your time today. I know everyone is very busy. And also just want to thank you so much for your flexibility with this interim. And as we're working through this new system, thank you in advance for any other feedback that you have to offer us. And just know that we are here. We want to help. We want to make things as good as they can be. And we just appreciate you all so much. So I just want to wish you the best day ever and hopefully have a great long weekend. We will see you hopefully at another webinar or some other event that we get to see people. And yeah, just wishing you the best day. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Carly, one last thing. We're
sure.
to let everyone know, because we had a question just come in about will we send out the answers to all the questions from yesterday and today's.
Yes, we actually were considering putting together an FAQ. It sounds like that'd be something that people would really like to have. So we will work on that and we will get that out to people. Have that noted on my list as well. That may take us a little bit of time to get out, but we will make sure to have an FAQ for folks. And we will post one of the presentations online so you can rewatch this or share this with your other staff if they need to, if it would be helpful for them to rewatch. And also, along with that, we are working on still updating several sections of the program manual and anticipate being able to post the update and provide more information about that here soon. So lots of updates going on. But yeah, thanks for that question. We will get an FAQ for people. All right, if that's it, was there anything else, Victor, before we call it a day?
Yep.
All right, you all, thank you so much. So wonderful to see your names here. Again, thank you for everything you do, and have a wonderful long weekend. Goodbye.
Bye.